Okay, a call to order the September 21st workshop meeting. We have already done the pledge to the flag. Redo the roll call, please.
Councilman Coleman,
Here.
Councilman Owen, here, Councilman Paddock,
Here.
Councilman Smith is absent, Supervisor Bailey.
Here. First resolution, I'd ask the town board to accept the agenda as prepared by the town supervisor. We are going to make one change. We are not going to consider resolution C tonight. We're going to push that to our next meeting due to a couple questions on it. So other than that, I'd ask for.
Can I add two things? Can we consider a motion to have public comment on H, J, and K, which are the insurance policies of the town? And then, if possible, I'd like to update people on the CPA. So I did hear back from most of the CPA.
Yeah, and I apologize. I just realized there's two H's.
Yeah. I counted them as one.
Yeah, so it should be H-I-J. Yeah. But okay. So you want to make that amend the motion to include an update on the ZBA? Normally we don't do updates at workshop.
Okay, we can. I think we can.
Yeah. The only reason that Erin did the website or asked to do the website is because she didn't do it at the last meeting. But if you want to amend to add the public comment.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay. Discussion on it. I understand the premise of having the public comment. I just think that these are the things that we're talking about usually at workshop meetings are our job. They're procedural. They're picking which insurance contract, and I'm not trying to exclude the public, but I just don't see the value of the public comment. But I'll go ahead and be a yes vote on that. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain. Okay. So we will add the public comment before we get to that section. Quick announcements. Next Thursday, September 29th, at 6 p.m., we will have 5 public hearings on our continuing zoning code updates. At that meeting, we will be doing local law O through S, which would deal with kennels, transfer of density rights, lot development standards, landscaping standards, and overlay districts and establishment of a historic preservation overlay district. Also, because our next meeting is after it, I just want to remind everybody, Heritage Day is October 1st, 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. And then in the evening, fireworks at the town hall, live music. Kate, our town clerk, and Friends of Historic Rochester president, have been organizing it with her team. And if you came to last year's, it was a great event. Just tell your friends, and hopefully we can. I would say we had close to 1,000 people last year.
We went to over 1,000 miles.
Yeah, so very well attended event. So right here on Main Street in Accord, community center building, the firehouse, and then over at town hall in the evening. So
that's my birthday weekend, but you don't have to do anything special.
okay.
We
Got
got
it. Okay. With the board's permission, I'd like to sort of mix item 4 and 5, the secret determination and the discussion together, because I feel like we should have the discussion before we address seeker. We did receive yesterday a fairly substantial packet of information. I have not had a chance to look through it all yet. I believe a lot of it deals mostly with the site plan and the location on the site, more so than the actual use, which is what we're determining. However, the seeker determination is for both our application and the planning board. For those who are not familiar, what seeker stands for, it's SEQRA. It's the State Environmental Quality Review Act, which any action that is taken by a government must adapt to the rules of seeker under New York state law. And there is a set of criteria where you have to go through and determine no impact, small to no impact, moderate impact, or large impact. And based on the answers to those questions, you then either do further research or you do not, and you declare that there is no impact to the surrounding community. The environment in this case does not just mean the air, the water, it also means everything from traffic, environment meaning community. So the everything around the project of what is being proposed. So sorry for my secret 101, but for people who do not know what that all means, that's what that means. And a negative declaration, which means not what you think, negative means that there will be no impact, as opposed to a positive declaration, which means there is an impact. I know it seems a little counterproductive, but it's based on the impact. So we have to review that as a board and determine if we think further review is needed or if it can be mitigated due to certain circumstances. And that must be done before a decision can be granted on either our part or the planning board part. Given this pretty lengthy information, I think perhaps we should hold off on seeker at the moment. We could either take it back up again at our next week's meeting after the public hearings, or we could take it up at our October 6th meeting, one or the other. I know there's a number of concerns expressed about the location, and as I said, it's primarily more the site plan is probably the issue, more so than the use itself, I believe, without having read this as thoroughly as I'd like to. But as I said too, we can't complete the seeker until we have some of those answers. So how does the rest of the board feel?
I agree. I only read it through once. I wasn't able to look at it with those questions in mind, but there are some questions about runoff.
And not to put any sort of concern in anybody's that this may or may not get approved. It's just a matter of working through the questions and developing answers. So I don't want anybody to feel like we're trying to say that there's a problem or not a problem, but we just want to take the time to review the information that was presented to us thoroughly. If we have to get our attorney's opinion on it and then review it in due course. So I think it probably, rather than going through the secret tonight, it would be prudent if we review this information first. Does the board agree with that?
Yeah, I agree. I want to look at the new information alongside the application. So,
okay. So with that being said, what we will do is, can we, just since we have both the public and the applicant here tonight, I feel comfortable that by next week at our audit meeting, and I know I just said we don't like to take up action, but since we're deferring it rather than waiting 2 weeks, I would like to try to do it next week after our public hearings on the other topics at the beginning of our audit meeting. We are allowed to schedule other items for discussion. We just we try not to.
I'm comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Next week.
Okay. So we will at next week on the next Thursday, the 29th, we meet here at 6 p.m. There are 5 public hearings before that, but last month we had 5 public hearings and nobody came, and we were done in about 7 or 8 minutes. So we have to go through the process of opening and closing each public hearing. So we will take this information up and review it and then discuss it at our next week's meeting. It will be first on the agenda directly after our public hearings, which have to be held at 6 o'clock. So, unless you want to schedule a special meeting an hour early. It just popped in my head. I think we just do it late. So, okay. So thank you all for coming, and thank you for the information. and we will review it and take this up next week.
You can still stay.
Yeah, you're still welcome to stay. No need,
It gets really exciting.
yeah.
Is there a way to see what this packet is?
Yeah. You
I don't know any
can
of this information.
contact the clerk tomorrow, and she can, you can ask for a file of freedom of information request, but any comments are indeed public and can be submitted. So, and it can be distributed to you electronically, so there's only a cost if you want it in paper format, but it's 11 pages of various information.
They can either call me or email me. My email address is
Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, moving into resolutions. Recommended resolution, and we will have to have a little discussion about this because I realized one of the dates I picked is not going to work. So the Town of Rochester Town Board set special meetings to be held Thursday, October 13th, 2022, Tuesday, October 18th, 2022, and Wednesday, October 26th, 2022 at 5 p.m. at the Harold Lipton Community Center, 15 Tobacco Road, Acworth, New York, for the purposes of review of the tentative 2023 budget. And it should say any other business, not other business. The town clerk has requested to advertise legal notice of the meetings. For discussion, I'll make the motion. Somebody want a second? Okay. For Michael, I know it's your first time with this process. Traditionally, when the budget cycle is, I have to, as the supervisor, I collect budget requests from the various departments by September 20th. I then draft the tentative budget based on those required requests and file that with the town clerk no later than September 30th. She has 5 days from that to present it to the board at a public meeting. Because we don't meet again until the 6th, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have it to her before next Thursday, and she will present it at our audit meeting. So we don't have to schedule an extra meeting, just to present the budget. At that time, you will all get a copy. I will email you copies of all the budget requests that we got. We then traditionally have taken 4 meetings. I've only put 3 in here because the way the schedule works. We then have to have a preliminary budget. How many days before the public hearing?
10 days.
10 days before the public hearing, which has to take place no later than Thursday after election. Don't ask me why that's the way it's worded, but that's the way it's worded. So election day is
Tuesday. So the first.
Is it the first or is it the eighth?
Is either from the first? Oh.
Good elected officials, yeah.
Well, none of us.
8th, this election day.
Okay, so we have to have it no later than the 10th. In order for that to happen, we have to have a finalized preliminary budget by essentially Halloween. So the month of October, we already have our regular meeting on the 6th. We have our workshop meeting on the 19th, the Wednesday. I would prefer not to do budget stuff that night, if we can keep going on the zoning stuff. That's my preference. If we really say, no, we need that night. We could then, at the audit meeting on the 27th, make that one of the days, but bear in mind, I'm going to give you 4 more local laws tonight, 4 more public hearings that night on top of everything else. So with that, I picked these 3 days, knowing that those days are open here at the community center. The only thing I didn't look at is the county legislative schedule, which is Tuesday, October 18th. And there is an agenda item I'm expecting to be on their agenda that I want to be there talking about because it absolutely deals with something Rochester is concerned about. So I tend to go to their public hearings when there's an issue, and there is one that night. Likely one that night. So With all that being said, I threw these out as tentative placeholder dates. I just want to hear back from you guys what you thought. Can we do it in 3? Normally what we do, Michael, is one meeting. We try not to do more than 2 hours because after 2 hours, looking at numbers, your head starts to spin. We usually do one meeting with the highway superintendent, and just do highway. If we can do anything else, we literally go through line by line every item in the budget. We talk about it, we say, yep, that amount looks good, or no, we should raise it or lower it. We oftentimes, if we choose to invite the department heads to come make a presentation, explain their ask. Sometimes when you get them, some of them, you may look and go, we don't, I'm okay with this, I don't need to talk about it. So with that being said, though, we finished, we pretty much should do 4 sessions. Last year, we tried to shortcut and do it in 3, and we ended up scheduling an additional one on Columbus Day, which, because the holiday always sort of throws it. And that is an option. If you guys don't mind meeting on Columbus Day, Kate does not have to be here. That's the 10th. We've done that before.
I don't know.
I was driving back from Connecticut last year, made it 5 minutes before the meeting. So what do people think?
I have all the dates available for the extra ones.
Would we want to add Monday the 10th as a 4th one? And then the October 18th, we could do one of 2 things. We could move it, or I can always testify at the public hearing by Zoom. We can pause while I speak at the public hearing.
Monday the 10th is going to be tough for me.
Okay.
I know I have to go to have a meeting in Virginia.
We also, bear in mind, the Tuesday, the 18th is the day before our workshop meeting, so we're gonna have back-to-back, and the Wednesday, the 26th is the day before our audit meeting, so we're gonna have back-to-back. We could do, I sort of figured if we had to, we could finish up on the 27th as part of the.
Yeah. Is Friday not good for people?
Friday works for me. I just tend to try not to schedule them, but Friday is okay with me if there's a Friday anybody wants to do it.
If we do Friday, it's better for me at 6.
6 is fine, and I that's why I left it blank. We did 5 to 7 last year.
Yeah.
But if we want to go 6 to 8, we can go 6 till whenever we feel like stopping. It's up to us. They are public meetings, but I think in the 3 or 4 years of doing it, we got one person, one meeting for about an hour, and they couldn't stand it and left.
I think for the Friday, we would maybe we'd want to try to schedule any department heads for the other.
One of the other days, yeah. I'd like to do Jeff's first, the 13th, because I like to just get highway done, because it gives us, that's almost half our budget. And it gives us a really good sense of where we're headed.
So right now I can make these dates, but that's subject to change. I know I have to be out of town probably the 11th and 12th.
Okay,
So I can come back for the 13th.
so we'll keep the 13th.
Unless we want to move that to the 14th.
We could we move the October 18th to the 17th? Monday?
I mean, right now, yeah, I don't have anything on my calendar.
Can you do that, Adam? So then I have the 18th available.
I got 2 calendars. 17th, what time?
6.
Probably, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Bear in mind, we can always move something if we have. So we're gonna do Thursday the 13th, Monday the 16th, and then keep the Wednesday the 26th, and then if we need a 4th day, we'll finish up with the audit meeting.
The dates again, I'm sorry.
So it'll be the Thursday the 13th, that's in the resolution. We're gonna change the Tuesday the 18th, to Monday I said 16th, Monday the 7th.
And then the 26th.
And then Wednesday, the 26th. And then if we spill over, we'll finish it at our 27th audit meeting.
So we're adding 3 plus the audit, and then you have
November 2. So we're gonna have 6 meetings that month. Yep. And I will, these two have been through it now 3 times, twice, 3 times.
This is my third.
This will be your 3rd time, yeah, so it works.
Yeah, my biggest concern is something can pop up, and that tends to happen in the middle of the week.
Yeah,
Friday,
and-
Monday, safer.
Okay, well, if we have to reschedule, we can do that. Kate just has to post notice. I figured let's do it all in one notice.
How far in advance do we have to reschedule?
It's supposed to be 72 hours if they're
Okay.
doing a budget workshop.
Yeah,
And it doesn't, if we have to change date, it doesn't have to be noticed in the paper.
Right.
We can notice it on the door. It's 72 hours if practicable.
Yes.
Is the word in the law.
I like that.
So the short answer is you could schedule it as late as the last minute, but you're supposed to give as much notice as you can. So, okay, so I'm gonna make a motion to amend the motion to read Town of Rochester Town Board said special meetings to be held Thursday, October 13th, 2022, Monday, October 17th, 2022, Wednesday, October 26th, 2022 at 6 p.m. at the Harold Lifton Community Center, 15 Tobacco Road, Accord, New York, for the purposes of review of the tentative 2023 budget and any other business. The town clerk is requested to advertise the notice. So do I have a second on that amendment? Second. Okay. Since we learned last meeting, we don't have to vote just on the amendment, we vote on the amended resolution. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hopefully that's the hardest thing we have to do. Item C is being skipped. We are moving that to next week. I will tell you, I emailed you and our attorney for the town reviewed the contract and deemed it legally sufficient for our concerns. And I fact checked the numbers and they are correct. So 47 pages worth of content. For the public, we have received $2 million from the New York State DOT. Well, a $1.999999 million grant to replace the bridge on Boyce Mill Road over the it's the Falls Mill Brook Bridge, according to them, but that's not the name we all know it by. Anyway, we are in the process of hiring an engineer to design and be our project managers. With that funding, the town is responsible for 5% of the funding. The federal government will reimburse the state 95%. So we're going to pay $100,000 for $2 million. Took us 3 tries to get the grant, but we succeeded last year. So finally getting that done. We have to continually lower the weight limit on that bridge. And this way we'll get a new bridge built. Next. And hopefully I made some copies of these. Yeah, I did. One of our town justices has requested to be included in the retirement program. Traditionally, our judges have not been a part of it. So in order to do that, we have to adopt 2 resolutions. The first is we have to set a standard workday for the retirement credits. And so the resolution is be it resolved that the town of Rochester hereby establishes the following as standard work days for its employees and the report days worked in the New York State and local employees retirement system based on the timekeeping system or the record of activities maintained and submitted by these members to the clerk of this body. And the town justice, we are going to establish the standard workday as 6 hours per day. The reason being is you can set it at 6, 7, or 8. It can't be less than 6, can't be more than 8. So being that our justices do not work every single day, I've decided to set it at a lower number. So that's just their starting point for how you calculate the hours they're credited with, which is the next resolution. So I'll make the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, are there any questions or discussion on that? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained. Then Kate, I know you have to post this for 30 days, I think. I'll let you and get the staff and explain it to them because
Okay, yes, there's a whole form.
there's a whole form we have to fill out and any, for the board, any people who work on an hourly basis, on a timekeeping basis, that is their hours. And so if they're a 7-hour day employee, it's 7. If they're an 8-hour day employee, it's 8. For people who are elected officials or that their time varies with no set amount of time, we have to establish this. And like I said, traditionally, our judges have not chosen to be a part of the retirement system. However, this justice already had some credits in the retirement system and wanted to not leave it on the table, as it were. So there's one more copy for you. So with that, when you're an elected official, you're required to keep a record of activities, it's called, for 90 days. That is what's presented to you here. Our town justice has done that with each date, what the activity was, the start and end time, and the number of hours. So in response to that, the town board is required to acknowledge and accept that record of activities tonight. And then using the math on the page in front, we calculate the credited days per month that are credited. So I've done all that. So this resolution, and this is the exact resolution from their template, it has to be. Whereas the New York State Comptroller is authorized by sections 34 and 334 of the Retirement and Social Security Law to adopt rules and regulations for reporting the service and salary information for all employees of participating employers in the New York State and local employees retirement system. Whereas Town of Rochester is a participating employer in the retirement system. Whereas New York State Comptroller has promulgated Regulation 315.4, which imposes certain reporting requirements for elected and appointed officials of participating employers. It requires the governing board of each participating employee to adopt a resolution establishing a standard workday for each elected or appointed official. Whereas among the requirements for employers are a more detailed description of a standard workday, along with a town board resolution establishing and reporting such standard workday, public posting of the resolution, and submission of the resolution to the New York State retirement system. Whereas pursuant to Regulation 315.4, in the event that elected or appointed officials do not participate in the employer's timekeeping system, they are required to keep a record of activities for a 3-month period and submit it to the confidential secretary of the town supervisor within 180 days of taking office. And whereas each of the elected or appointed officials listed in this resolution have kept records of their actual time, worked in their current position for the required 90 days, or taken part in the Ulster County timekeeping system, now therefore be it resolved that the Town of Rochester Town Board hereby establishes the following as standard workdays for these elected and appointed officials who are not covered by a collective bargaining agreement, and will report the following days reported to the New York State and local employees retirement system based on the established timekeeping system or the record of activities maintained and submitted to the town supervisor and confidential secretary. It is Town Justice Renee Alba for the period of 1/1/2022 through 3/31/2022, and it calculates to 2.62 days per month based on her record of activities of 47 hours during that 90-day period. And I double checked the math 3 times to make sure I did it correctly.
I'll make that motion.
No, the second.
I'll second.
You just have to go through.
Any questions or discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained. Apologies for the reason it was delayed. It was, the record of activities was apparently turned in to my former, it was lost in an email transaction to my former confidential secretary, and we discovered it just recently, followed up with her, and so that's why it's a little bit delayed. Okay, next, before we get into the resolutions, further requests, I will open it up for public comment. If anybody wants on the town's insurance packages, which we'll be discussing. Okay, there's no public comment. So moving to discussion items, Aaron, we'll start out with you with just a brief website update.
Yeah, I
Where
have-
we stand.
This printout for everyone's reference of our, I forgot to title it, so I wrote titles Sharpies. So I know I just thought the board would want to know where we're at. We had our kickoff meeting with the website committee, which is Kate, Councilman Coleman, and myself on September 9th, where we reviewed what the responses we had to a survey about the aesthetic that we're looking for. So 4 weeks from that date, we should have our first mock-ups of the design, not of the website. It won't be interactive or anything, but just really what do we want the website to look like? So that puts us at around October 7th. They said roughly 4 weeks, so it'll be around that target. Then the process at that point should take an additional 3 to 4 weeks to really settle on what we want the look and feel of the website to be. Then we move into all these next steps that I've outlined. I wanted just where we're at now, it kind of puts us with their timeline. If we stick with their timeline, we're looking at like a launch date of like late February of next year. So the only real thing that I kind of wanted to check in about the board with is how do we want the process to unfold? So we will be getting initial mock-ups that will need a lot of feedback so they can tweak it. And then
Maybe PDFs.
they're going to be links.
Okay.
So, and I just didn't know how we wanted that. And one of the reasons why I wanted to bring it up tonight is if we wanted to, ever have the board discuss it at a meeting, I just thought that with that timeline, we should know. So one thing is for minor stuff, like if we get it, we're like, oh, they got that totally wrong. The website committee can just discuss that and give them feedback, but then they'll be giving us a final mock-up. And I think the whole board should be able to.
Yeah, and I purposely did get involved in the committee because there's enough on my plate.
Yeah.
You guys are doing a great job, but having been the original town website coordinator and then being very involved with this current website, I would like to have a little input, but
Yeah.
you guys are doing a great job, and I'm happy to leave it in your hands. But maybe the way to do it, and Kate, do you think at that first level, I don't think we should go to the department heads yet at that point. We're just talking concept.
This, we're just talking about color, fonts.
So why don't, if you can circulate to the board members by email, as long as we're only responding back to you
Okay.
and not having a major discussion by email or any discussion, that's okay. But
Okay.
if you guys circulate it to us and then we reply back to you, we can, that's legal.
Okay,
So
we can do that.
you can even, if you want to do it all through Kate,
Okay.
if she's willing to, that may
Yeah.
be easier, because then
Yeah.
she's not a member. Part of why I put her on the committee with the two of you is that way it's not
Right.
a quorum of the board.
Well, and also,
I said part of the
Okay.
reason, just part of the reason. The
the
other reason is it's gonna be her website.
the phase where we're really gonna need to include the department heads is 5, which is the site map.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, and that's where we'll involve it. Based on this, the second, just a procedural question, there was a second payment that was gonna probably come due in like November. Is that likely not gonna be due now? until
Oh, I
next
can
year?
double check that.
The
Right.
reason being is,
We have
we're gonna take that money
Yeah.
and move it into next
So
year.
when I was putting, when I put this together, I was like, yes, I believe there's a final payment due when we go live.
Okay.
I haven't,
I
didn't
couldn't
look at that.
remember when the second payment was somewhere in the process or if it was at the end of the.
I have that, I have the contact bookmark, so I can look that up.
Okay.
for you. definitely for budget.
Yeah, just let me know,
Yeah.
because what I put in next year's budget is the next year's maintenance payment.
Yes.
But if we're still in design into next year.
Yeah, we're gonna have a bigger payment.
I'll
too.
move,
Yeah.
I'll move that amount over.
Yeah, but they were saying, so they did say that our payment every year, our annual payment will be due every year on September 9th. Because that was the
Oh,
date.
that's
of
the
our-
kickoff.
So I'll,
Oh, so.
that'll
so
be
it
our
won't It
anniversary.
won't be June, it'll be September.
Yeah, so
Initially.
for the annual one.
Perfect.
So I'll email you about that payment schedule now that I have it mapped out. with their time.
I just want to make sure we have the appropriate.
Yeah.
amount of money there for it.
And the one thing we should know is I put in, next, all the text and bullets are theirs, but I put in the dates. If we take longer, then it just makes the whole thing take longer. So if we take longer with our process, which we're allowed to do,
It just
it
delays
just delays it.
everything else by
Yeah,
that
so
same
that's-
amount of time.
And then one thing that, they did say, I highlighted a few things. You know, they really want us to kind of give 3 rounds of back and forth in this initial design phase. But they were like, well, you can do more if you want, it just takes a while. And then there's another point where if we want to go back and add things, it'll cost us money. So everything needs to be really figured out in the first few steps, or else we could tack on additional expenses. And so that,
And you're sort of the 3 of you, you're sort of being the point.
I'm the point person to be in contact with Revise. They requested that only one person do that, and then Kate and I will talk about communicating.
They were adamant.
Oh, yes,
I get it, because design by committee is never fun.
yeah.
Yeah, well, and 3 of us have accounts, which is that it's not to do it, so we nominated Aaron to be the one responding to it.
Well, they originally made me, and then I said, oh, there's 2 other town board members, can we set them up with the account? And the salesperson said, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I said. I was like, this
Yeah.
is official.
Yeah, but
Typical salesperson.
I'm sure the design team were like, you shouldn't have done that.
Oh, and I do
So-
have a recording of the kickoff meeting, if anyone.
Oh, great.
would like.
Is on YouTube or?
It's
It's on
a
your
Zoom
computer.
recording,
Oh,
so
Zoom
it's in
recording.
the portal.
Okay. Beautiful. Okay, thank you for that update. Before I forget, just to share with the board members, this was the seeker in the intent to seek lead agency. We had to send out to the town planning board to see if they want to be lead agency. You got a copy?
Yes.
This is their relinquishing that responsibility to us. And you already have this, but this is the part 1 of the seeker. And you guys want a blank part 2? Or do you want to, I have them printed out in case we talk about it tonight. It's totally blank. You can fill in your own thoughts on it.
Okay.
Blank.
I'll take one. I will.
So. Michael? Adam? And for Charlotte. Printed one out for you in case we filled one out. So feel free to have, now you got a blank part 1. And this is the part 3, which is just the recap of what you decide on part 2. Health insurance. We have a number of items to decide tonight. The first item we have to decide is our small employer benefit package with our broker, Marshall and Sterling. Our policy starts in effect December 1st. How we ever got on that calendar year, I don't know, but it went December 1st to November 30th. So in order, we need to decide tonight so I can initiate with them. They will then make up packets for the employees Minnie, our representative, will come to an employee meeting with all the employees who are eligible for health insurance. She does an amazing job explaining it, answering every question. And she tells everybody, she works for us, not the insurance company. I'm sure you're used to that. The insurance company is her, we're her client, the insurance company is her vendor, so.
The broker meeting today, and you try and get your product in for, to the broker, so they'll recommend you in certain situations,
So based on that, every year she does a side-by-side analysis. And apologies, I probably should have printed this in color when I put it pretty lengthy. So the MVP current plan, it's on that spreadsheet chart, is in front of us. The renewal plan that they recommend is the same plan we have now, which is MVP, EPO, HD, HP Silver 8. It is, according to our HR expert, thank you very much.
Good night.
According to our HR expert, it is one of the most widely used plans out there. As a member of it, and Kate's been a member of it for a very long, we've had this plan for a very long time. It does a good job. It's a high deductible plan, which means there's a $3,900 deductible. But the way we deal with that is the town pays the first 40%. What we then call the middle 20% is paid for by the employee. The town pays the last 40%
Of the deductible.
of the deductible. So the employee is only responsible for $780 of deductible. Yeah, 20%.
Is that true for the family too? or just the individual?
For family, for a dual or a family, it ups to 7,800. And
Town still pays for it.
town still pays 40, 20, 40. Varying employees pay different rates depending on when they started. There are some employees who pay zero toward the plan because they predate back when insurance was cheap. They predate. There are some employees who've been with us for a while who pay 15% of this is the premium. Pay 15%. There are other employees who pay 20% of the premium. Our newer employees, 3 years ago, we changed the policy that for the individual employee, the town pays 80%, they pay 20%. For any family members or spouses that are covered, the town pays 50% and they pay 50%. We have a couple of employees who started since that period of time with that. But ultimately, the employee never has to put out a penny until they reach that 20% deduction. Because Minnie says, don't ever give them money. Don't ever give them your credit card. Go there, tell them I'm on a high deductible plan, bill my insurance. The insurance will reject it. It's paid out of the deductible. The company, Marshall and Sterling, tracks it for us every month. I get a report. Every week, we get a bill from them, and we pay from the previous week our amount of what we owe. We also offer HSA, which we'll get into later, but
HSA or HRA?
FSA, sorry, FSA, flexible spending. Sorry,
So we don't have any HRA or HSA?
I don't know that we're eligible. Municipalities have certain rules. So anyway, all that being said, it is recommended by our insurance broker that we continue the same plan. The difference, you see the difference in the plan rates. That is the only difference this year. The 3,900 continues, the 7,800 continues for family or dual deduction. The annual limits are still the same, 6,000 for an individual, 12,000 for a dual or family. Primary care visits, 100%, everything is 100% after the deductible. So the employee, other than whatever portion of the premiums they pay, The only other money that they ever pay is that 20% of the deductible. So it's a pretty well-liked plan. A lot of doctors take it, a lot of labs take it. So
This rate is the total premium, the 903.66 total premium, so they're taking.
the 903, so the numbers in the left column, the 12,512 are our current, where we sit right now. Number of people
Oh,
participating. So the 903 is for the 12 people that are on the single plan. That is our monthly premium.
And they pay 20% of
They
that.
pay 20% of that. And then I have a spreadsheet that does the math for the year, divides it by 52, and it's taken out of their check on a weekly basis. And when we get into budget, I will share that spreadsheet with you, and you will see more spreadsheets than you ever wanted. So these are the rates. It's approximately a 5%
Yeah.
increase, which is not bad, considering Minnie had warned me last year that it might be as high as 10. Now, thinking ahead to next year, just real quick, she did warn me that MVP has filed for 2023 rates, which are going to be our rates starting. These are for us, these are 2022 because we start December
Right.
1. So for December 1, 2023, they are asking for a 10% increase. Whether it gets approved or not is another story to the insurance commission.
I knew it was
Insurance board, yeah. They also are looking at, changing the deductible. So, I think so. She didn't have all the information. She just kind of gave me a heads up warning. She's good about that. She checks the filings with the insurance board. And she sent me this, and then all of a sudden she sent me an email that said, oh no, it's a 10% increase for 2023. And I went, you just told me 5. And she goes, no, 2023 next year.
Right, because they're doing that for everyone who says.
So, anyway, so just that's a heads up. I support this plan. I think we should adopt it. So, if anybody have any questions? She does show us all these other options, but she does that because she feels obligated to. But this is the one that is recommended in this one we had.
Yeah,
So,
and it's much better than the others.
we have a good participation. Almost every employee who is eligible either uses it or they have better coverage or different coverage through a spouse. And we do offer in our manual a percentage of buyout. It's not a dollar-to-dollar buyout. A number of people get a decent buyout back. Paid for their own coverage. So, if nobody's got any questions, sorry.
So on average, employees are gonna be paying us $200 a year. Is that what you're thinking?
No, they're gonna be paying, let's see. Let's just do it for single coverage. So the increase was $46 times 12. So say if it was 50, that's 600. They're gonna pay 20% of that. So a single employee can pay on 20% of 600.
110.
Yeah, so 110.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I'm curious. I hate
Well,
insurance.
I understand.
I hate the system. I'm not saying no. But
If-
reading this is
If,
like mind.
if we change the percentages, that involves changing our handbook though, because that's our policy in our
Okay.
handbook. So it's, we can't just change how much people pay. That involves a handbook change. We can amend our handbook at any time by a simple resolution. We don't have.
What we do that's so nice is the 40-20-40 split. Almost every other company in the world does an 80-20 from day one.
Yeah.
So, again, if if somebody breaks their arm or, regular stuff, the town's gonna take care of it.
Actually, the other way around, it's 20/80.
Yeah.
Yeah, what most companies do is the first 20 is on you and they'll pick up the last 80.
Yeah.
Carl-
But from day one.
Yeah, Carl added, so
Yeah.
you're not gonna spend any money until you get to that middle 20, other than the weekly amount taken out of your check. And because it's taken out of everybody's paycheck on a weekly basis, they become used to it because it's, you know, it's taken out of their check, it goes, pays their health insurance bill, and the cost of health insurance without this, can't even imagine. So, yeah, I'll see.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, I just, it's a tough year, so I hope we take into account those increases compared to inflation and everything.
Yep. We have, and when you see the budget, you will see, I don't want to get into too big a discussion about budget now, but I've taken it into account and given a very generous package of raise compared to what we normally do, so.
Can we, and for the future, I'm curious about the HSA, HRA.
I can follow up with Minnie, but I believe as a municipal government, we're not allowed to do it, but I'll follow up.
We need to get paperwork alluding to that, I guess. Doesn't change for the one.
Yeah, I'll check with it. Okay, upon recommendation of the town supervisor, the town of Rochester Town Board accepts the small employer benefits package with enrollment of qualified town employees, spouses, families in the MVP Liberty Silver 8 Health Plan effective December 1, 2022 through November 30, 2023, as presented by Marshall and Sterling Group Benefits, and authorize the supervisor to sign the agreement. Payment premium rates are increasing 5% monthly. I'm not going to read them all. I'll make that motion.
I'll say.
Just a point of discussion, we also last year, previously, we qualified full-time for medical benefits at 35 hours a week. And we have some employees who work 4 7-hour days, and we lowered our qualifications for medical benefits. Not, doesn't change whether they're full-time or part-time. They're still part-time employees, but we qualify employees at anybody above 28 hours a week, regularly scheduled, qualifies. So that added in our transfer station people, that added in our court justices, that added in almost all our employees except for our constables and our summer deputies. So now we offer health insurance as far as I can think of to everybody, so, with the exception of those positions, which are very part-time positions. So, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, next, last year or this year, for the first time, we offered Delta Dental, the CDPHP. I have not personally made use of it yet, but Kate says she has, and she saved about $70 on one visit for cleaning. So it's a good plan. Oh, I'm sorry, I jumped ahead. First, we have to do the renewal of the Select Care. So authorizing the supervisor to sign renewal of MVP Select Care Incorporated Health Reimbursement Account. This is the HRA.
So we do have any from?
That's what they call it, Health Reimbursement Account.
They have an HRA, we have an ICAP. So each
Oh,
of us have the
okay.
HRA.
So the HRA is there. That's the 3,900 to 40/20/40. So that's
Okay.
the HRA.
So we're funding that,
Yes.
and then that's what they're doing.
Yeah, and the 20%, yeah.
Thank you. It gets a little overwhelming.
So that's what I was, so my understanding of the insurance is just saying, one big difference is it's portable. So I'm curious if it would make sense for us to do an HSA, we could do an HSA as opposed to an insurance. Yeah, before we could carry it with them if they want to file. So that, I'm just curious for clarification.
Yeah, well, but we're funding it, so.
Yeah.
If the employee's leaving, we're not gonna fund that just as, yeah, so. But this is for the $3,900.
And that's what Cole was for.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let me read the resolution. So upon recommendation of the town supervisor, Town of Rochester Town Board accepts the small employer benefits package with enrollment of qualified town employees, spouses, families in the MVP Select Care Inc. Health Reimbursement Account effective December 1, 2022 through November 30, 2023, as presented by Marshall and Sterling Group Benefits and authorize the supervisor to sign the agreement. The deductible is 80% paid by the town, split 40 for the town, 20 by the employee, 40 for the town. They charge us a monthly fee of $250 per participant. That's actually per account. So if it's a dual person account, it's $250. If it's a family, it's $250. The individual is $3,900 per year. The double or family is $7,800. So that's, I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
So this is the high deductible. What it is MVP funds it and then bills us as it's utilized for us to reimburse.
So if
So
somebody goes over.
we're only responsible for the amount that is actually used. And for your information, what I do is I budget the first 40% for everybody, and I budget 20% of the second half, because some employees don't use it at all. Some employees use the whole thing. A lot of employees use the 40 and then they're in the 20 and they never get it to the second 40. So I've been budgeting at 60% instead of 80, and with pretty good success so far doing that. So that's how I organize our budget. So you get it.
So they fund it. And then if the employee goes for like the first, I guess, 1,600, we're getting bills. And then for the next,
No, we're getting billed for the first 15, what is it? 1560, I think.
I'm
Yeah.
not a man.
Yeah.
But, and so then do the employees get like bills for the next 20%?
Yes.
Okay.
So the next one, now, just an FYI, if they have an HSA,
FSA, they can pay.
they
use
can
that.
pay,
Right.
use the FSA to pay that 20%.
Yeah, and FSA can fund it like 2850.
You can fund it as low as you want, up.
But you can go up to that, so you could cover that whole 20%.
Yes.
Okay.
And the FSA is the one that, and we're getting to that resolution, you have to use it by the year plus 2.5 months, or you lose it, and that, it doesn't roll over, but, it's, you have, 14.5 months to use it.
So on the individual, their yearly 20% deductible is $708. Right. So on the family is $1,560. Right. So again, if you use the FSA, you put that amount of money in there, you take it in tax.
Yep.
Pay less
And
on it.
700, that's, what, for 52 weeks, that's only $10, no, $15 a week out of your paycheck. Yeah. You don't
No,
have-
this is fine. I mean, this seems like a weekend.
And Marshall and Sterling make it relatively easy to manage. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Now we'll do flexible spending account. Upon recommendation of the town supervisor, the town of Rochester Town Board makes offer to employees the opportunity to enroll in the MVP Select Care Incorporated Flexible Spending Account, Health FSA, in the amount up to $2,850 per year, with a grace period of 2.5 months after the end of the plan year to utilize all funds, effective December 1, 2022 through November 30, 2023, as presented by Marshall and Sterling Group Benefits and authorized the supervisor to sign the agreement. Okay, second.
Second.
The IRS is allowing $100 increase. It was previously, the max was $27.50, it's now $28.50. We only have about 5 people who do this. Many do not. I did it this year and I haven't really used my money, and I still have money. What they did is last year, there was money left over and they allowed us to do a resolution to extend it by 1 year. So I actually still have money left from last year that I haven't even spent, let alone and I lowered my payment to $10 a week this year instead of the 20 I was doing down to, so.
You know, there are stores that specialize just in music.
Yeah,
You can get
but there are a lot of
Band-Aids.
places you can use it. Yeah. So,
Yeah, I to the dental.
yeah,
They increased too, you used to not be able to do that other kind of stuff. and
You can.
You can now.
okay, some, not everything. But they also give you a list. You can even do it for health club memberships. Like that.
The
So,
best is when people have, maintenance drugs that they take with a regular deductible or, regular.
well, a regular deductible though, because the way we do it goes to your HSA, HRA.
Right. Still. prescriptions and stuff.
Yep, yeah. So you get a card, you go in the pharmacy, and Minnie said it's the only time ever to use your card. You go into the pharmacy, put your card in, it's a debit card. And as long as your prescription's qualified, it's just billed to your card. Then they bill it to your high deductible. They don't bill it to your FSA until you run out of your high deductible. So it actually, prescription coverage is part of the high, which is unusual. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Next, now the dental. This year, for the first time ever, we offered dental, seems to be being utilized. So the resolution is on recommendation of the town supervisor. Town of Rochester Town Board makes offer of 2 employees the opportunity to enroll in the CDP HP Delta Dental of New York traditional PPO option, effective December 1, 2022 through November 30, 2023, as presented by Marshall and Sterling Group Benefits, with employees to pay 25% of the coverage, the town of Rochester to pay 75% of the coverage, and authorize the town supervisor to sign the agreement. Surprisingly, there is a 0% increase. It's the same rate as current. Our employees, the 25%, because dental and we're going to talk about vision in a minute, we're not covered in our handbook. We agreed as a board last year to have the employees pay 25%. That amounts for a single person, $2.01 per week. So they're paying $104.52. And as Kate said, pre-tax. As Kate said, one cleaning is she saved 75 right there. So it's a good plan, seems to be working. I'd like us to continue it. I think the employees, not everybody took it. Some people chose not to take it, but a fair number took it. It's not really, it's costing us maybe $4,000 a year. All in favor?
What defines a family?
More than 2 people.
And then covered, now with family, one.
Yep. Now the dental, anybody under 18 is covered under MVP in their dental, in their medical, because they're required to provide pediatric dental as part of the medical plan. So
Not orthodontic.
no. And the one bad part about this is last year there was a 6-month waiting period for any major work. You could do cleanings and things like that, but any major, that continues now though. So once we're enrolled, that 6-month waiting period goes away. Unless we get a new enrollee, then they have a 6-month period. But anybody who is currently enrolled now gets 12 months. It seems nobody has complained about it. I think they seem to like it. Like I said, I haven't utilized it because I need to find a new dentist.
Did we have a motion on that? No.
Oh,
And
sorry.
he asked all in favor.
Thank you. Somebody want to make the motion?
I'll make that one.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, now all in favor?
I,
Opposed? Okay. Vision. I would like us to add vision. Minnie provided the MVP vision plan and said, in no uncertain terms, don't do it. She doesn't think it's a good plan. She thinks we can do better. This Empire Specialty Benefits plan, according to her, is much better. The only difference I can see between the one page and the second is for frames in the one on the left side, they do once every 2 calendar years. And the other one, they do frames once every calendar year. The monthly premium, we would fit, if we get 50% participation, which I think we will. The monthly premium for an employee only is $4.88. If the employee paying 25% of that is going to be paying pennies on the dollar every week out of their paycheck. It's not even going to be $1.
The top lines are different. Frames are more expensive on the right. And compacts.
Yeah. Now that's, okay, so that, my guess is that is what they will credit toward whatever you get.
Yeah. Oh,
So-
they think it's credit now.
I believe. I can clarify that, but I believe that's.
Makes sense. And more.
Yeah, so I think on the lower, they'll give you $130 for the pair of frames. And then you pick whatever frames you want and they will pay 130 of it. The exam, it looks to me like they will pay 20 of the exam. Contacts will pay 130 toward it. That's the one I'm leaning to because I think once every 2 years, it's sort of standard getting a new pair of glasses.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I mean, every year. Not even boosting the.
Yeah.
So I'd like us to, the option 1, the group size 2 to 50 is where we would fit in my opinion. And I would do the 50% plus participation minimum to enroll, because I think we're going to get that. If we don't, we would have the other one. Unless somebody feels strongly about it's another, what, 488 versus 702. About another 50% more. So, try it for the first year and see how it goes.
Yeah, I'm good with it. We're not requiring anything to do it.
No, and what I would like to do too is we also, because it's not, we'll extend the 25% request for contribution toward it, like we're doing the dental, because the dental and the vision are extras, but now we're able to get the full package.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna make a motion. Apologies, I'm gonna do it on the fly. That we authorize, upon recommendation of the town supervisor, the town of Rochester Town Board offers to employees the opportunity to enroll in the Empire Blue View Vision options. Option 1, plan FS.A.N.25.200.200. Effective December 1, 2022 through November 30, 2023, as presented by Marshall and Sterling Group Benefits, with employees to pay 25% of the coverage, and the town of Rochester to pay 75% of coverage. And
I'm sorry, did you say 200.200 or we did 130.130?
thank you. Correction, had the wrong page, but 130.130. Thank you. Good catch, Michael. And the town of Rochester to pay 75% of coverage and authorize the town supervisor to sign it. So,
I'll make that motion.
okay, second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. We'll get this all to Vinnie. She'll get her assistant to make up packages, and we'll have a group meeting of it sometime in October, so that everybody has about 3 weeks to get all the paperwork filled out, decide which coverages they want to enroll in, and then we'll go from there. Zoning law update review, if the board is okay with it, I'm gonna, okay, she can leave tonight and we'll keep notes. Is that what we're doing? You okay with that? Okay, thank you very much. Okay. allowing a not-for-profit borrow on shares, but they will get us insurance. And we don't normally do it for individuals, but we do it for not-for-profits as long as they get insurance.
Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you,
See
Kate.
you next week.
The infamous color chart.
Update it. Look at this.
It's growing.
It's moving in the right direction.
Yeah, it is. New local laws hot off the press. I only got 4 done this month. I was trying hard to get a 5th done. Just didn't happen. I think that's
Should I have two signs? Well, one for Charlotte.
No, you got 2? I'll take one back. Did I give you 2?
One and,
Okay.
no, I'm sorry. This one's parking loading.
Oh.
Okay. Want that one back?
No, hang on to it. There's one more part of the other traffic. We just got mixed up. One for you, one for me, one for Charlotte. I printed and realized I had it in grayscale.
No.
So color wasn't printing, so I had to work printing and get it fixed. So the first thing I just want to share with you that, and we did hear back from our local planning board. They got caught up on a bunch of their comments back to us this morning. We heard back from them. And we got county comments back, but I want to take a second to tell you the county planning department as well as the planning board's compliments on the process that we're doing. Dennis Doyle, the county planner at the last meeting, and Aaron comes in on Zoom for the meetings, was highly complimentary process of how we're doing this. They're complimentary of the content as well, but the process in general of getting it done in the expedited time that we're doing this, shooting to get it done in 6 months. Everybody was somewhat amazed at how we're doing it. So
It was very sweet.
it was.
I think they're gonna send an official letter also.
Well, it came with the referral, just the
Oh,
first
the-
paragraph is a complimentary thing, which I haven't shared with you guys yet. It just came, a couple days ago. Sort of been gathering all those because I figured
We've gotta
we gotta.
have some sort of,
So for tonight, we have 4 new local laws that I had ready for us. Let me take a second and walk you through the chart first. So the yellow ones are ones that there's very minor changes on them. So my goal is to group all the yellow ones together at some point into one local law. Because a number of them are 1 or 2 words or just a quick little change here or there. The gray ones, there's no change recommended, so there's nothing to do there. The blue, the dark blue, is the definitions and the district regulations, and also the map, which I probably should also put in blue. Kind of holding till we're done with everything else, because the definitions, most of the definitions used throughout the code are in that section. So it doesn't make sense for us to do that and then do all the sections and then have to go back and do more definitions. So I know Aaron is sort of mentally keeping track. or
Oh, I
maybe
have
even
notes all over.
about definitions.
Yes.
So, and the schedule of district regulations is picking what districts certain things should be allowed in or not allowed in. Those two alone are gonna be a very substantial, but it will be one of the last things we do. The sort of pinkish ones have been through the process of a public hearing. The local law number that we did is there. They are all held open. The lighter blue is the ones that we are scheduled for public hearing on this month. The green is, the darker green, the forest green are ones that we did as standalones that will become part of this. The sort of lime green, although it looks very different on the computer than it looks here, it looks very similar to yellow, are the four that I gave you tonight: parking, general commercial and industrial standards, signs, and multifamily residential. And then the sort of peach or orangish color would be new ones. The cannabis we're required to do since we did not opt out of the state's cannabis. We have to write a part of our zoning where they're allowed, how they can operate. Food trucks is one that at one time seemed really necessary, and now we don't see half the number of food trucks that we used to see. This is not so much a food truck that somebody has a festival. This is a food truck that somebody parks along the side of the road or parks out of business and operates. We can still decide whether we think we need it or not. The drive-through establishments, something the town of Shangam just did. It's sort of a set of standards for drive-throughs. We've had 2 apply in our town in the last year. The Chico Deli, which is very successful, and the new Dunkin' Donuts, which is in process. So I anticipate we may see more, so it certainly doesn't hurt to write a section of code on them. Back is really nice. They're all in process. The ZBA just needs a cleanup. The planning board and ZBA alternate section, they are currently in other chapters in the code. I'd like us to discuss and get Mary Lou's opinion if we should move them into zoning and that everything addressing zoning is in one chapter. To me, it makes sense. The ZBA is required to be in the zoning chapter. Planning board and the alternates are not, but it's the enabling law that gives the board their official authority by us to do the work they do. So I think there's a bonus to moving it in there. So that's why I added those 2 chapters. So that's the, and if there's any other topics that are not included that you think we should add, I know, Michael, we still have circle back to the campground one.
Yeah.
So,
I'm curious just if, and I don't know if there's a way to do this, for the gray ones, can we make no changes and then still do public hearing? Just
Yes.
like we're doing everything?
yes, so,
Oh, that's great.
public hearings on the chapters.
On the chat, yeah, like conservation subdivision, both of these height restriction.
Well, so ultimately, the way the process is working, we've kept every public hearing open. What I would like to do is, once we're all done with all the chapters, with the exception of the gray ones, is combine them all into one of 2 options. Either one document that covers the entire code, but we will already have had a first pass at everything, so it's going to be more finessing and cleanup. I don't think we're going to get huge amounts of comment. That's the downside of doing it all as one, is you can sometimes spend years. The other way to do it is we can do articles, because if you look in the code, a number of these chapters are Article 1, a number of these chapters are Article 2. In that sense, we would be incorporating the gray ones into that final product, and it would be a new public hearing, because we would be changing. And that's kind of the beauty of labeling by letters right now. Eventually, we will have a local law number 12 that is the zoning code. And anybody can comment on anything, whether it's a change. So That's kind of the way I envision it. At the rate we're going, the moratorium currently expires in early December. We gave ourselves 2 3-month options. What I would like to hope to have happen, if possible, I don't think we're gonna make the early December by finished product, but I think by January it's reasonable. So what I would like to propose is that we work towards that we adopt the zoning law in January. We then can end the moratorium on site plan and special use because the new zoning law is enforced. And the moratorium on subdivision would have to continue, but at least we get half, 2/3 of the moratorium behind us. Actually, 3/4, because the building permits can
Right.
also be dealt with. So that's kind of my goal.
Remind me, what were the white ones?
The white ones are ones we haven't addressed yet, that I haven't written. And the wireless telecommunications, I started on it on Sunday. It looked really straightforward until I realized there was a ton of like 1-word changes. And going through and changing the highlighting from blue to the red and the crossouts and putting it all in legalese format. I did these 4 in an hour and a half, and an hour and a half later, I only had 3 pages of wireless done. It was just beating me up. And I said, I can wait till next month. So my goal is to come back with every white one at the next update. So that's why I didn't want to do the workshop meeting in October as part of our budget. That way we just keep them dedicated to new codes, and then we keep the audit meeting with public hearings. And we just keep that process going.
The one I'm most curious about is conservation subdivision, because we haven't had a lot of people utilize that.
We got one right now that's in the process, and it's actually it's our second one. The first one, well, we had 3. One pulled the application because they decided, this was 8 years ago, they decided not to do it anymore. One got their approval but never acted on it, so their approval expired. So we do have one now that's going through the process.
Yeah, I'm curious if there are people I'd like to know about how to
I think it's
change
just,
that and improve that.
it's a concept that's not understood so well. And I don't know that it's a fault of the law. I think it's more a fault of just people are used to traditional cookie cutter subdivisions. So,
It has to be part of it.
gotta be part of a large tract that you're preserving portions of it. And, so with all that, which one would you like to start with tonight?
Well, I always like park.
Okay.
Park is a good one.
There are quite a few concept changes in some of it. I mean, the first page, Yeah.
Does anyone have a pen? I'm sorry. And I like to. I think there might be one in that box.
Michael doesn't, I may have one.
Sorry.
Okay.
My phone doesn't work. I don't have a pen. But I might be. Sorry.
Those are my favorite pens. So the first page, unless somebody feels strongly about any of the existing language, I think the changes are more just wording changes. I don't see any issues. You want to just, instead of reading through it, you want to just take a second and read through the first page, and then you can see if they have any concerns or questions. I did change the order from the existing code. I moved the request for modification ahead of the parking requirements, because it seemed to make more sense to be that order, so where the request for modifications is about anything about parking. So rather than burying it somewhere in the code, I moved it to more forefront. But it's still the same language, I just reordered how this current code is written. In case you look at the current code and know this isn't what it says.
It's a form thing, but just having the item B referencing the following standards, I don't know if that should be, should everything below that be indented level?
I think, well, the subject for the, I don't know, demo, but is uncategorized uses.
Yeah.
So it's saying,
So the following standards, everything underneath, but the C and B do not necessarily relate to each other.
They don't.
No.
Yeah. Okay. You just said planning board shall
So the
apply
standards-
in this
The
chapter.
standards are everything in
Yeah.
chapter 17 are the standards. We could make it part of A. And then it's just a continuing sentence, and then,
Yeah, that would work.
does that make more sense? So instead of separating out of B, we'll make that part of it, and then everything else will just change by one letter. Okay. Yeah. Because it's more sort of the statement. This is what the planning board does.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So then moving, if everybody's ready to move on to the next page. 6 and 7 there are just, they're more reasons that somebody can provide why they're asking for a waiver. And traditionally, we tried when we wrote the last code to leave parking a little flexible because we have real rigid standards. You get a use or you get a project, it probably doesn't need the type of parking that, or the amount or the size of parking that a real rigid standard calls for. And by giving the planning board the flexibility, but we also wanted the applicant to produce a reason for asking for the flexibility rather than saying, I don't like it. I can tell you a very quick story about when I was chair. Adam was on the board. We had one applicant who kept saying, coming in saying, I don't need this. And I kept saying, put it in writing, put it in writing. I wasn't even chair at the time. Finally, they came in and they put it in writing. And Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to offer this waiver. The engineer looked at me and was like, that's all I had to do? And I said, I've been telling you that for 4 months. That's all I had to do. Finally, they came in with a written waiver. And we did. But it puts the onus on them and it gives board documentation of why it takes the vagueness out of it. So they think we should increase, so we lessen the number of parking spaces required, and I would agree. So for home occupations, they're saying 1 space for every 250 instead of every 100 square feet.
What defines a home occupation?
There's a
Yeah.
definition and a code. There's 3 different classes of home occupations. Home occupation could be something like, one classification is that there's no outward appearance of a business there, maybe, and then the second one is that they may see clients or customers, that could be like an attorney or somebody like that. And then the third is a home occupation that is much more intensive.
Retail operation.
Yeah, and more square feet. Now, then you get into actually commercial use, but it's more, it's a smaller, a landscaper, for example, or something like that. It's people that are working their business out of their home, but it's still a residential use. It's still primarily.
And this is in addition, this is 1 space in addition, or is this cumulative? I think
So for every 250 square feet of the area devoted to use for the home occupation, they have to have 1 space.
if you have less than that, you still have to have 1, but if you had 500.
But if I have a home occupation and and I have enough parking spaces for my house, but 250 feet of that is used for home occupation, I need another space for that.
You have to have the ability to have that many spaces, so yes, you can't overlap.
They would, like, I have 5 parking spaces. They would count one of those for them.
The house, all residential require 2 spaces. We used to be 1, we changed it to 2. But, and again, this is the template that they start with, and then the waiver exists to allow negotiation.
Yeah,
So,
they're not problem.
yeah, they're raising it because the current numbers are.
Yeah, it is.
It's outdated.
And then we're raising it up.
We worked, there was a.
I'm gonna go with
document
the
that we-
committees, because recommendations, because there was 2 planning board members involved. with
Yeah,
that.
and I don't know if you remember, we had a, like, recommended.
Oh, yeah, you were.
parking,
Yeah.
We had a recommended, and I remember everything. We had a recommended it was a document, we went and combed through it, and it gave a range, and we were like way on the generous side, so we went one. I think it was a New York Planning Federation, I can't remember. What
It was from a consultant. Somebody did their research. The hotels, motels, I just added the word space because everywhere else it said space and that just said +1. The industrial uses, they wanted to raise it from 400 to 500 and then add the 1 space per employee, which is important because many times somebody has enough spaces for their customers, and forgets that they have employees. The commercial uses, I think makes sense. The public assembly is still the same. That's sort of standard.
Yeah.
The assumption is that in a car, 4 people are possible to come. I mean, some cars are gonna have 1 person, some are gonna have 2, some are gonna have 4. So, offices, and I like this, that discrepancy that open to the public, not open to the public. I'd never thought about it before, but I like it because if they're not open to the public, then it's just employees. The only thing we could do is instead of changing it to footage, just make it day-based. Oh, never mind, it is. I'm looking at it backwards. Not open to the public, 1 space per employee or owner plus necessary spaces for visitors. I think that's reasonable, because again, this is a guideline of the chart for the planning board to start with.
What do you mean to say necessary spaces?
Well, not every office is going to get visitors, so during the review by the planning board, they're going to determine for that particular use what the expectation is.
So like a therapist's office.
Well, that would be open to the public. The not open to the public might be just someplace that like you or I couldn't just show up as a public person, but they may have a meeting where 5 people are gonna come for a board meeting or something.
The planning board determines that.
Yeah. This is a, following standard applied standard, so it's saying where they're set from, but and if it's a mixed-use project, it's cumulative. So, but and then they changed restaurants to eating and drinking establishments, which matches our code title. So 1 space per 3 seats. So they're assuming that each car is possibly going to have 2 people. I think they're all reasonable. I don't see any particular issues. And again, flexibility always exists. The next page is straight out of the, we probably should double check that it hasn't been updated. That chart is a chart that I did back in 2008. So maybe we should just double check that the numbers haven't changed in the ADA requirements. The 10 by 20 size space, at the time we adopted the original law, was a lot of hand wringing about it, because most towns are 9 by 18. We talked about it in the previous code task force extensively, and there are a large number of people in this town who drive pickup trucks, larger vehicles, and trying to cram them into a 9x18 is next to impossible. So we went with the 10x20. There were a lot of people complaining about it. Once we actually enacted it, the complaints seem to have gone away. And also bear in mind that with a written request for a specific situation, the planning board has the ability. They don't have to go for a variance. The planning board can change that. So,
We can allow some compact.
Like I just checked the ADA compliance, they haven't updated it since 2010. So,
okay, well, this was 8.
so, but it matches.
Okay, oh, good.
Yeah.
Good. We actually put it into the code. Initially, it was not in the code. I decided the number should be in there.
It's identical to, well, 500 to 1,000 is 2% of total, and 1,000 more is 20. Yeah, it's identical.
Perfect. Well, that's what I did. I cut and pasted it out of.
And they even mentioned in there, it's like 2010, it's not.
So the rest of that page is fairly straightforward and standard.
Do we have any light height restrictions?
In our lighting section. Yep.
And those would apply to this.
Yep,
Just curious
it would.
if you're reflecting down.
It's gonna be in 14020, which we're gonna get to. We can do it next.
That's good numerical order, so.
Oh, how about that?
that was it.
Now, there was one change here that, item I, about all parking areas which are designed to accommodate 12 or more vehicles shall be landscaped. Then it says the following are guideline standards the planning board used to say may apply, they changed it to shall. If we're gonna say shall, we should change the word guideline, because guideline is a may. In my opinion, it should say the following are standards, not guideline standards. We should take the guideline out. If we think the shall is important. Why don't we just take a second to talk about that concept? Bear in mind that, as I have said numerous times, they do have the ability to waive and amend. This was written as a may to give the planning board guidelines of what they wanted. And the picture that they've added is a new picture that the planning board found. I'm not sure that, my own personal opinion is I'm not sure it should be a shall, but
There's a lot in here of the where feasible, you know, which kind of lends itself to the may.
yeah, and 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6 are all brand new. And I'm a little concerned about some of those. You want to go through them first and then go back and see if you think it should be a may or shall? So,
Sure.
number one, personally, I agree, no more than 12 parking spaces shall be allowed. Because that's like an industry standard for a natural break. Each landscape area shall be planted with native ground cover, grass and shrubs in addition to any shade tree requirements. I like that one. Landscaping is always important in parking lots. The one facing one another, a landscaped island in between 4 feet in width. Personally, I think I think there are situations where in a parking lot, head to head, without landscaping in between, this is gonna make really big parking
I
lots.
was gonna say this, I feel like we should have like a minimum parking lot size for something like this, like. Cause you wouldn't wanna do it for something that doesn't have
Well,
very
let's-
many parking spots.
Let's just use, for example, the skate time 209 parking lot. There's cars parking head to head. If they had to do landscaping in between each one, their parking lot would have gotten, it's at least 4 rows. The parking lot will be 20 feet wider. Now, I know it's grass and it's pervious area, but
But the disturbed footprint of what they're building
Yeah.
gets.
Yeah,
increased.
if we do a May, then I wouldn't mind leaving it. If we change it to the shall, I think it's too much.
Something like the high school wouldn't have the space to, as an example.
Well, the school is its own,
I know, but I'm
but
thinking
that's an example.
some other places that it's already there.
Even like Emmanuel's.
Yeah.
And that those islands make it harder for people too, because now they have to walk all the way around that island to get where they're going.
But even when you look at really well-planned places, like you go down to Harriman, they use it on the outskirts of the area with the buffering, not in the middle of it, not usually.
I mean, I understand what it does is it creates lanes.
It's also for runoff,
Yeah.
it gives water a place to absorb as opposed to being an entirely impervious surface. I'm not opposed to change, like for that one especially, not requiring it.
Well, we also could go through and see which one we think could be a shall, and which one could be a may, and we could rewrite it to do it both ways. I don't know. Do you have a feeling one way or the other, Michael?
So I don't hate the idea of having breaks and areas where you can navigate. I mean, I just think it makes for a nicer landscape, but I also understand the concerns about increasing parking lots. I don't know if we could do it by, if the parking lot's going to exceed a certain amount of square footage, then you could require something like that. Because I do see a reason why you wouldn't want like a vast field of asphalt.
Right.
to avoid it.
Isn't there something with the impervious surface size and?
There is under stormwater.
Yeah.
But is that a percentage of total size of the lot or?
I think it's
Why,
area.
why did we have to do that at Dollar General? They had to put in that impervious surface.
They did that so they didn't have to do a stormwater pollution
Right.
plan.
Yeah,
And
this-
they chose to do that, but I'm still not convinced that the forest paved it, that it did what they said.
You get a vacuum.
Evacuated every time you plow it.
Yeah.
That part's even worse. My concern too, is 12 spaces, if somebody parks in the middle, now they have to go over a landscaped island, or they have to walk all the way around. Because it says extending the full length. So they're saying this break should be the full 12 space length. You get a person who has difficulties walking and maybe can't find maybe a space and has to park somewhere else.
Well, we don't need to do it as an island, like you don't need a curb there, that can just be non-blacktop surface.
And this
True.
is another one of those where feasible too, which gives the ultimate flexibility.
Does it say what?
Landscape areas should also provide the end of the parking road where feasible to separate parking spaces from circular aisles. Versus, parking.
Oh, we're just looking at.
We're looking number
Oh,
two.
I'm down.
Yeah.
No, that's at the end of the parking roads. Number 4, I could support, absolutely. I like
Yeah,
that idea.
Do you want to toss this in to where feasible in the number 2 as well? It gives it so much
Well, if
flexibility,
you
though.
say where feasible, then I don't think we should say shall. I think we should leave the may. I could support all these if the word changes to may.
I just know we did so much work with parking. Nobody's building Walmart parking lots. It always seems to be, hey, this is for an event space. This is, trying to shoehorn it into an L shape.
How about we get a little, we say the following are guidelines, standards, planning board encourages applicants to follow.
Maybe that has no.
It doesn't, but at least it gives the planning board the ability to say, hey, we really want this. I know it doesn't have teeth. If you want teeth, you gotta change it to shall. But I see a,
Or may, may has more teeth than curb.
Yeah.
but the following guidelines says the planning board may apply. To me, that sounds kind of wimpy. It's like, it depends on who the planning board is. If they feel like it, if they don't feel like it. by saying encourages, to me, it's a stronger statement of, we want you to do this. Then it puts the onus on the applicant as opposed to the planning board may apply these standards. If they don't apply them, then nobody's ever gonna bring them up.
Hmm.
That's why I think the word encourage is better. It sets a
I just
direction.
think for a lot of the work we do, it's too standardized. Take the granary project, for example, we started talking about parking over there. That's not gonna be a big square, lot that can fall into this. It's gonna be pieces and parts all over the place.
But that wouldn't fall into it.
Wouldn't vote this because most of them are all less than 12 faces and they're not head to head.
Leave it in there and see what the public feedback is.
Yeah, because my only thing is I feel like maybe having it for every single one is too much.
I
If
agree.
it's a really large parking lot, you need shade tree, it's like better for everybody.
Well, that's-
I think having a split foot sign.
Yeah,
That's why I like using the word encourage, because but a small parking area, landscaping is important too.
but usually it's on the,
I mean, number 2 is only gonna be in large areas where they're parking head to head, but everything else will apply to smaller parking areas. 12 cars is not that big an area. I don't know.
yeah, I'm thinking about the Tops parking lot and every Sunday and we call as we go to the grocery store and have to park the van is by the one shade tree and to keep it cool and
But there, they at least, you go in and you go
Yeah.
around and
you
it's,
do, yeah.
it's
you
it's
don't have
traffic
that.
calming
Yeah.
standards because they
Right.
have that center.
So that's all I'm thinking.
Another
You have-
example
a
of a
light.
bad parking area is go to Kingston and pull in the Staples parking lot,
Oh,
which
yeah.
until they changed the direction of the parking spaces was just a free-for-all with everybody racing toward the exit.
Oh, yeah, so islands are good for traffic, only good for shade.
They are,
But you don't have to put them.
they are.
in
That's
between
why I
every
want to
single-
say our guidelines there as a planning board encourages use of.
Or what if we have it where it
How about we
exceeds
say
a certain-
both, encourages and may apply.
There you go.
Encourages use of,
And shall.
And shall.
no, I
Require.
say
Yeah,
may.
encourage
At-
may,
In some situation.
Well, that's where you say may apply. The planning board encourages use of and may apply.
what if we have something where above a certain square footage,
I just don't,
percentage is required to be impervious?
we're getting too technical with it then though, because I think there's always gonna be,
Well, then we change it to a may, but then we stipulate that.
Right.
that they may enforce it. It
Yeah,
is-
I think we do that and then we also,
Well-
we see what the public has to say.
yeah, you don't like my encourage, huh?
No, I'm saying we put in what you
Oh,
said.
okay.
The may
Okay.
and it will encourage
So
and
the
may.
following are guideline
like that?
standards, the planning board
But we can. We'll
encourages.
make it better. The Ulster County Planning Board is gonna have some comments.
And I think that gives our planning board. a lot of
Encourages
flexibility
use
and-
of and may apply. Because if it just says that the planning board may apply them, I know some of our planning board, we don't know who our planning board in the future is gonna be. If they don't say, hey, you should do this, that doesn't happen.
And
This way, they're saying, we encourage this to happen.
Nothing, you're sharp project, owners that want to get things through in the right way. And when they go here and it's an opportunity to,
And one of the recommendations that the county really liked, that they have design standards, and we're referencing that manual. The
Right.
county said, take it even a step further, take sections of that manual and put it in sections of your code, which sections they would apply to.
Yeah.
So see county for examples. And I still have to put them down side by side to figure out how to do that, but giving examples is a good thing. But anyway. So I think because we did it that way, I think they all make sense. Except, so what don't you like about it?
I just don't, well, because I feel like, let's say there's a project that somebody do, and we say encourages people to do X, Y, and Z, and everyone in town gets up and on and says, we don't want this huge parking lot in here. There's nothing the planning board can do at that point to say,
Sure they can. Sure they can.
if they're only allowed to
Public
encourage.
outcry is not. So encourages use of and may apply. So the planning board can say, yes, these apply to your project.
And may require.
Following our guidelines, standards, the planning board encourage use of and may require. Fine,
I like that.
fine. But bear in mind, Michael, public outcry is not a reason ever to. Everybody can say what they want, but if the law is the law.
That's my
Yeah,
point. That's
yeah.
my point.
Public comment isn't, I don't want it, I don't think it's a good idea,
Well,
even though some
right,
people think it is.
Yeah, not wanting it doesn't matter if it's allowed in the law,
Yeah.
but if we have some standards
Yeah.
that can be enforced, then at least say,
But they can be.
Yeah.
By being in the code, they can always be enforced, and the planning board can say. The code allows us to, may require is fine. I would like to move 6 though out of there because shall be designed to accommodate storage areas for plowing snow. I think that should be in there and not be a guideline.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna figure out where to move it, and with your permission, I'll move it to an appropriate place. Somewhere else where it's a mandatory in part of the design. Or what we could do is just start with number 6 on and make it its own subheading, because I'm reading the rest of these. And
The other they all have to do with, like placement and the
Yeah.
ones that were added have to do.
and I don't think so. I don't think those should be guidelines.
It should be like,
So from 6 on, I'm gonna make a new subsection and make those will be a shall. Everybody okay with that?
well, yeah,
Well, let's work through.
some
and
of them
see.
are may or where possible. But one thing you could do, you could just make these landscape, these 4 that we were talking about.
But the first 5.
Yeah, those are
Well,
all
that's true.
landscaping, so we should just,
Make that its own.
isn't it already done under I?
these are designed.
So why don't we call letter I a subheader of landscape standards
Okay.
or guidelines? Well, because we did the may,
Yeah, no.
Oh, yeah.
so we're gonna call that landscape guidelines, and then each one of those will be its own point. And then we'll call from 6 on parking standards. Yeah,
Yeah, 'cause we don't have any. nothing.
so from 6 on, it'll be a new subsection, we'll call it parking standards. So we'll have guidelines and standards. And also, with your permission, I'm gonna flip flop and make the standards first and the guidelines second.
And just on the 1 through 5, we're gonna change all those shalls because they're all structured as shalls right now.
Yeah, we're gonna-
Change shall to may. Zoning 101, what I learned is shall is maybe. I mean, may is maybe, shall is always. So,
Shall.
yeah. Okay, so I'll tweak that.
What did we say? 6 is gonna be,
So starting at 6, I'm gonna call that whole section 6 to 10 will be parking standards. And I'm gonna move that in front of the parking guidelines. And then-
Or that should go in the header of I, because it's saying parking landscaping plan shall be designed for accommodating.
Yeah, oh. Since it's like a semantics thing, if you guys.
It
will
could
just-
go either way, I don't
If you
care.
guys will let me just. I'll
Yeah,
figure
I
out the
don't care.
wording on it.
Alright.
I understand the concept.
Yeah.
I want to come back to you for 3 words of. J and K are standard.
There's the additions of 9 and 10.
9 and 10 would be part of that. Would be 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 would be parking standards.
Yeah, I just didn't know if that was good.
I think we should change the may to shall on those. I think it makes sense because that's really what you want. That picture is a very good example of how you want your
Yeah.
parking to be. You want the, Dennis always says, you want the buildings close to the street and parking to the rear of the side. Every developer wants the parking in front. The parking lot was full and people go, oh, there's a lot of people here. Stop. So.
Okay.
But I'm gonna change that may to shall in 9. Bear in mind, we'll get another pass at it. We'll get comments. See there, 10 is encouraged. And maybe 10 should be a maybe required though.
Yeah, this is really against the mega lots where you.
Yeah.
Like 5.
Why don't I make 10 its own bullet point instead of part of the standards?
Okay.
Because it does exactly what we wanted, and I like the picture of it.
That's from the Ulster.
Number 3 is just a clarification. You need a driveway permit. Nine is good, but I think we have to, you want to add to your definition, we need to define what traffic calm means. Sorry, but pedestrian friendly, that's easy. And then,
Do we remember why in 7 we changed the requirements?
yeah, I don't remember, but I guess they thought it was still too steep. I mean, I'm okay with 15%. 15% is standard.
Yeah.
Bear in mind, this is other than single family dwellings, so.
Right.
So this is commercial uses more or less, or multifamily. I guess they thought too steep was not a good.
Yeah. We had a lot of parameters.
Yeah,
Unless there was a clear reason.
I don't remember. I'm happy to leave that. Any strong feelings either way? You wanna, you're quick on the Google, you wanna Google,
It's a parking lot grade.
driveway grade. But, not a house. Commercial driveway grade. How about that?
You, as a general rule, a driveway should be less than 50% grade. Means that it should not rise more than 15 feet over 100 feet.
Which is what we had, not exceed 15.
Yeah, and the 2% over the 50 is exactly what you just said. I think let's leave it at the 15. I don't see the reason. Letter L, the agriculture access, Aaron, you want to weigh in on that? What do you think?
Um,
I'm not sure we need it, but I understand. I guess I understand why.
Is it even, can we even enforce that with ag and markets? Is that-
Yeah, we can for
It's
access.
not,
funds.
not taking something away, it's just adding a level of, bureaucracy. which didn't have before. Because before it was just, you could,
Was there a particular reason it was added or was it just one of
Remember.
those? I think we should. check it out.
if I remember why we put that in, I'll let everybody know.
And do you know what the definition of an agricultural access road is?
Yes, well, it's defined in our code, but it's not a real road or driveway. It can be, you could just make one,
It could just be a cut in
but,
a field.
Can it?
but
be
you still have to
paved?
get, yeah, I'm trying to remember if you have to get it drive, like,
You probably do, because any access.
the only thing I'm concerned about is traffic on an adjoining road. That would be the only thing we should be concerned about in my, but,
But the farmers' fields are where they are. So
right,
they're gonna do the safest thing themselves.
I was on
Yeah, I
the
think
Kings
so.
Highway the other day and somebody was driving the truck with a trailer with a tractor on it.
And-
out of the field.
And this isn't talking about the access to the highway.
right,
It's talking about the road itself.
right,
I don't know why we need to be approving.
yeah, because this is not, public cannot use.
No, I mean, if you need it, if you're intersecting with a town highway, even if you're an agriculturalist, yes, you need a driveway. But, this is about the road itself. The only other thing in there, I like the addition of 9, the sharing of parking is not feasible. Tom Shepstone, or Peter Fairweather, actually, who did our comprehensive plan, used to give a great example of 299 from New Paltz to 9W, Cameloy. Intersect, driveway. You could have interconnections between properties, and so many people just don't wanna talk to their neighbor about making an interconnection. Instead, they all wanna just make their own driveway. It's crazy. So, so there, we're adding an incentive bonus if you do it. And we actually did the Dollar General as prime example. We made them do that with, we didn't know the liquor store was going there, but we knew something was gonna go there eventually. And we made them share that access.
Built it out accordingly.
To the point when when the liquor store was going through the review process, the new owners of the Dollar General corporate called me and said, they can't use our property, and I said, well, yes, they can, go back and look at the decision, and they were like, oh, we didn't know that. No, absolutely, they can, not only can they will be using your.
But could you imagine a second driveway
Yeah.
access on that corner coming down? It was a good plan.
So I think that's good. Overall, I think there's some good additions. It's not a lot of additions, but I think there's some good additions. Anybody have any other issues with anything else? Okay. So what letter did we do up on? S. So I'd ask for a motion to set this as local law T 2022 for public hearing to be held October 20. What's the last Thursday? So for a public hearing to be held October 27th, 2022 at 6 p.m. at the town of Rochester, the Harold Lipton Community Center, 15 Tobacco Road, and to request the town clerk circulate notice, and further that this local law be referred to the Ulster County Planning Board and the town of Rochester Planning Board.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
I,
Aye. Opposed? So, October 27th. Next one.
I do not want to do the.
Yep.
It's the sign.
You don't want to?
Don't. You want to do it? Okay. It's gonna burn us out.
I like a nice easy multifamily residential.
Well, on both of those, I think we need to change some stuff that task force didn't recommend. On both of them.
On which one?
On either multifamily or this one. Because with housing being what it is right now, multifamily really changed, but, which one? Okay,
General commercial,
let's do
Yeah,
one.
let's do it.
So,
I'm down for anything.
okay,
Let's shoot through it.
so historically, back when this started, yeah, it's the last day of summer, yeah. There was a lot of discussion and during both original task forces about this, and the words new in letter A, new commercial, new industrial, new multifamily were added because there was a lot of discussion about, does this apply to somebody doing a renovation? And I personally think that anytime you're applying for a building permit or a site plan or special use, these should apply, even if you're doing a renovation. Now, I'm not saying you gotta change what exists already, but in any new construction, because this talks about only uses, and the reason I bring it up is there was a lot, this was a compromise. There was a lot of lengthy discussion about it. And I think now we're past that, and I think we need to move forward and not just make this, the way this is written, this only applies to a brand new use of a property.
right, yeah, I agree.
So what I would like it to say, and I'm just gotta work it through here, wherever a building permit, a site plan, or a special use review are required, with the exception of, does that make sense?
Yeah.
What is a building permit site plan review or?
So wherever a building permit, site plan review, yeah,
Review is required.
use permit. Well, it's either or. It's not. Or it is.
Because it's only one of them.
It's not all three,
Not all
it's
three.
any of them. So it is required.
Or, either or.
I don't know, they both sound right.
I'll tell you what, my spell check.
It will?
Yeah.
Grammar check.
I took the last one. I looked for.
Is required. With the exception of agriculture, okay. The next change is just adding, so it's the building inspector as being one and the same. Item B, I made it be, item B used to like just be a sort of a run-on sentence, but the county's gonna love that. The green energy,
Yeah.
LED, so. And there is a shall be encouraged. There we go. It's an encourage, but it's a mandatory encouragement.
It shall
And
be.
the planning board must encourage.
Love
C, the changes make sense to me. It tells people where to look. C2, actually, this became very important. And I'll tell you why. So there was a planning board application And there was a discussion about these, it said it must be in harmony with the surrounding properties. And so the architect drew it down because all the surrounding properties were fairly dilapidated. And the planning board said, well, we should make it look nicer. And then when they discussed it, they decided that, not that they made it look bad, but they did not, go crazy to beautifying it. And in reality, it does fit in the surrounding area.
Right.
I don't want to name the business, but it was humorous at the time because they were actually like,
Yeah, why'd you go with that design style? Because it's the one across the street.
yeah, exactly. That was the answer. It's that we matched the building across the street. They went, oh, okay. So, oh, yeah, so here they say they shall reflect and not reflect the surrounding structure. So they're saying you basically, you still have to make it nice, even if the neighbors are not. 3 makes a lot of sense to me. This is all just clarification. I mean, we could read through each one. If anybody has any issues with any of those, 3, 4, 5. 5 looks a little specific to me, but there's so many options. Metal, plastic, plywood, ceramic.
Yeah, we had a long, this was a very lengthy discussion.
Yeah. But it's
I
approval
think-
by the planning board, so
right.
I think that's fine. It gives them the flexibility to work around it. 6 is a shall versus should on a lot with multiple buildings being located on the site. Shall front doors, and yeah, that makes sense. Shall makes sense there. Yeah, taking out the adequate to provide safe fire. And actually, instead of even saying that, should it say shall decided to provide fire and emergency access as required. Yeah, instead of safe. Is that okay? As required by code. How about we do that? Then there's no question of. Should we say as required by fire code?
That was a little maniacal.
Likes enjoying himself.
The shall in 7 are okay, but anybody have any issues about those?
No, I know that they come in there.
Okay, I like the example. I like 8. And I love the picture, whoever found it. I wish it was a better copy of the picture, but I do love the picture.
Why are these all?
Why are what all?
They all read like they're in the historic district. Like compatible with the historic color palette. Or something, right?
Well,
I'm just wondering
Well,
if these.
because
if it's supposed to be subordinated.
yeah, under the first one, it's like the historic resources. It's just trying to,
but historic doesn't have to mean historic district. Historic just means of past.
and it's not saying it has to look that way. It just is encouraging.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was just wondering, like, 'cause that kept coming up. I was wondering if we, at some point, there was something about this came from the historic district.
I don't think so.
or something.
I don't think so. I'm sure it was just the emphasis because
Yeah, I don't particularly care what color.
people went around. Well, no, a lot of people do care about what color buildings are.
A lot of people care about a lot of
I
stuff.
mean, I like the ones that are non-historic personally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't live here during the Pink Castle debate.
Oh, I've seen it though. I've seen it.
Cares. They want big house, they want big
The
house.
neighbors next door care.
Yeah,
Well,
doesn't
it's
matter.
not a commercial use, so it doesn't even apply.
Doesn't matter, it's not their
Um,
house.
So 11 was taken out and combined in the following bullets, so. So I'll just have to renumber there. Oh, there it is, it's right in 12. The dumpsters, can we say side or rear yards? I mean, sometimes having a dumpster in the rear, you don't have access to it.
Yeah.
Having it in the side yard.
Let's say screen side.
Oh, fair enough. Fair enough. 14 is fine. What do you think about 15 changing the trees from 6 to 8 inches? I'm not enough of a landscaping guy to know what that difference really means. 6-inch tree is not particularly, well, the width of your hand is about 6 inches. I guess that is a pretty good sized tree. Saying they need to be preserved. The
I
second
think
part,
environmentally, there's a good reason for it.
okay,
We might get public comment.
yeah, I'm fine with it. 17 is just I'm sorry. Should we move the word about the color palette to historic to do with that 17? What do you think about that, Michael?
Yeah, it's-
Feel better?
Yeah.
Because I agree.
Yeah.
Use
We
of
don't-
code facade colors compatible.
Town
with-
line.
Yeah, so move to,
I mean, and what is historic?
I don't
100
know.
years
Is there a
gonna-
palette? Can
it's
I'd
gonna
like
be
to
black.
see that.
Benjamin Moore next.
Yeah, I like it.
But
they
but
do.
in 100 years, it's gonna be what it is.
Okay, then moving on.
It's like a historic one? With a big
Um,
green area.
The pictures, big kudos, whoever sorts them out, came up with them. Were they from
I think we,
they're probably from the HBC.
yeah, we cut this directly out. It's like a cut out of.
They were one page stacked underneath each other and I took a little artistic license.
Oh, I see.
Put them side by
Yeah, this
side.
is from
The HBC.
the,
D1, we gotta make a decision, so we're
Okay.
allowed except the industrial. Aaron, maybe you can help me at some point. There were these footnotes and that blue line, and I couldn't figure out how to remove that blue line, so it was driving me nuts, but I gave up on it. Shall not exceed an area of blank square feet of retail space. So basically, you don't want one big mega mall. You want small building, space, small building, kind of like the outlet malls up at Lake George or, many places.
What's the square footage, what's the budget?
It's up to us. They left it blank. They deferred to us. By the way, the county planning board thought our number of square feet per site plan use for disturbance was way too low. So
yeah,
I've gotten a bunch of calls on it too. What do we think?
So using, and it's right there in the picture, but using Saundersville as kind of an example of retail space, that's attached, seems reasonable.
Well,
And how big is that?
so
5,000 square feet.
think about like skate time.
Yeah.
Skate time was what, 40,000?
Yes. I have 30 in my house.
Okay. We could look up what that
Right.
was, but say that was a walk-in mall area and there was a bunch of businesses inside it. Is that too big a building or do we want smaller than that? Skate time is probably one of our larger buildings.
And what's this, this is any commercial building?
So we're allowed in the zoning district, freestanding commercial buildings or a group of attached commercial buildings, total footprint shall. So basically, it's visual. If you've got 20,000 square foot building green space, 20,000 square foot building. You know, it kind of becomes more in harmony with our residential. An average house is about 4,000 square. Or between 3. No, that's probably high.
Yeah. But I'm thinking, again, with the aesthetics, if you take a barn, you turn that into retail space, probably 5,000 square feet also. And maybe more.
You want to go a little average barn size?
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
average?
I had in my head, I think one of the reasons why we had a hard time, I remember we were at 10,000. And we were like, not sure, cause like,
10 is 100 by 100.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound
cause
that big.
it's like strip malls, it's like, I mean, it could be like,
For 200, you know, probably more likely 200 by 50.
And
Not-
like-
Not many buildings would be 100 by 100.
right, and where would you put, I mean, you have to have a certain lot size.
I put in 10,000.
Because this is clusters, you know, it's not saying you can't have a single building that big. It's just if you have multiple buildings, you need to separate them, you can't have them.
Yeah,
You
cause
can't
it, like
cluster.
4,000 and under is considered the like low impact. 4,000 and under.
And this is only talking about, now, this says retail.
This is commercial, yeah.
Yeah, should it not say retail though? Because retail is sales. It could be other things.
It just says commercial, right?
No, read the last sentence, exceeding area of X thousand square feet.
Oh, I
Floor
see.
space.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
But think about the place with the pierogi lady and the, Taylor
Yeah.
Temple. Like that's our strip mall, in the town right now. What's that thing as far as size goes? 4,000.
Going 6? We're under.
talk amongst yourselves.
Because you
It's
wouldn't
a
want it,
great
you,
strip mall too. I love her. I love Taylor.
Or like Kelder's Bar. even.
Oh, yeah.
and that's the big size that I'm thinking of. That's on the inside mostly retail. Maddie got the supervisor the apple farm. Nobody got hurt.
You want me to look at? Which one?
So, well, I'd be interested in both, but the Taylor rental building seems to be I wouldn't think that our town would want anything larger than that, especially on the 1 or the Stowers Highway. That thing might almost, and again, it'd be interesting, probably almost as big as Saundersville or bigger than that. And then what's the PX Plaza? The one with the laundromat and the yard sale.
That's not that big.
No.
How
Sure.
big is the amount?
Okay, large, yeah, big box stores are generally 10,000.
Yeah, Walmart's like between 30 and 100.
Yeah. I think 10. Yeah.
Of course, that building is not shown here. But that's actually, that whole property is actually, oh, it says small retail, 8,000 square feet, so that's 8,000.
Oh. That's the size of the building, or that's our definition of small?
No,
General thing.
no, I'm just saying small retail is what the assessor's office has called it.
Oh,
But the rentable area is listed as 8,000.
All right.
So that's 80.
Still under.
I know, but I would have.
So 20% bigger than that.
I think that's reasonable. You want to know what
10,000.
Calder's here? Send you that one.
I'm not playing again.
You guys are picking hard properties to do that.
But if somebody else built a barn the size of, some of these, like an antique barn, you know, they wanted to bring in all kinds of vendors and stuff, like up in the Finger Lake, you see them all over the place, you know?
So I'm thinking about a storage.
I do it.
We do?
Yeah.
How big are those?
I don't know, but there's not a lot of storage.
Are we gonna? Are they? They are.
Is it retail space?
I guess they're
I
not
guess you want
linked.
them.
Is
I
that,
guess they're not linked.
yeah, is that retail space though?
It's commercial.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what they have.
Oh, okay. So,
But yeah, they just have to break the building.
so.
Yeah, yeah.
so
Here
we-
we go. The barn at Keller's is 38 by 80, so that's not as big as you think it is. It's like 3,200.
Oh, I won that one. That I
You
didn't
guess?
guess on. I guess in my mind.
I guess 10,000 would be a pretty healthy tax, you know?
Yeah.
That's a
Because
big
I think
space.
10,000 is reasonable.
I do too.
Because what's the old Accord hardware, that something's gonna go in there eventually. Probably,
That's not very big.
it's probably way under that. Right?
Yeah.
You know, even if they built.
I'll tell you what, I'm gonna look at the state tax, because I don't.
Sometimes they even.
Most of the time.
But if they wanted something that big, could you think of a scenario where you would need a building that big that couldn't be subdivided into 3 separate 10,000 square foot buildings?
So-
Same property.
30,200 square feet. So, I got all kinds of trouble with the public hearing for that when I talked, and said, it's a fine project, but if it goes out of business, it's either gonna sit there and be vacant, it's gonna get chopped up into a strip mall, or it's become a warehouse. The owner didn't talk to me for 3 years because I said that. at the public hearing.
I mean, there's not a lot of places in town.
No, with the,
I
and this excludes industrial.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, industrial, you can cut it,
10,000.
Yeah.
I think 10,000. Took a while to get there.
Well-reasoned number though.
So in zoning districts, PL10 and R5, all resorts shall only be permitted on properties within 1,000 feet of the state or county road. I'm not sure how I feel about it,
It
but,
seems very specific to something very specific.
well, what it is things that are very, either people intensive or noise intensive. But like museums, I'll just use, for example, our Little Town Museum. It is within 1,000 feet of the state or county road. But if it wasn't, it was in a back road, would it really matter? You know, I don't think museums should be in here, or galleries. Oh, wait, this is only in PL10 and R5.
Yeah, it's just.
Never mind.
It's in a-
And the PL10 is protected
Oh.
land and the R5 is the large residential. You know what? Yeah,
Let's leave it and see. There
Yeah.
might be something. or nothing.
well, Minnewaska wouldn't qualify because it's not within 1,000 feet of the state or county road. It's from 4455 to where the main visitor center is way more than 1,000 feet. But
Have to bring it back in for a variance.
the state, I'm sure the state would overrule us. Say it's a state park. You don't
Right.
need to pertain to your zone.
Because wouldn't it be the parcel would have to be located?
Says shall only be permitted on properties within 1,000 feet. Okay, fair enough. I think it's for access. Yeah,
Yeah, it's just.
let's leave it and see what the county says. Number 3, I don't know. I don't think I don't think I subscribe to that.
How many rooms is the Hudson Valley Resort?
A lot more than that.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I remember when they wanted to redo that with a really beautiful project.
More importantly, how many rooms was the ranch? I mean, there's an example of it worked. They probably weren't more than 125. I think the only place that has more than 125 guest rooms is probably that's
I don't think it's that much more than that. I would put it around.
Would you?
Yeah.
But the second part, I don't know that I agree with the second part, 75% must be double occupancy or less.
I don't even know.
No,
It means that.
They
you
can't be
have a suite,
suites,
Like, you can have 25% of it.
yeah, the
You're only
25%
allowed to-
suites. The suites are but sometimes, as somebody who traveled a lot and stayed in a lot of those extended stay places,
I got
those suites were pretty nice. When you save money, if you,
Yeah.
you can room with somebody without rooming with somebody, because it was 2 bedrooms, common living room, common kitchen.
I say we take it out.
The second part, I'm okay with the first part.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm not, I don't know how I feel. Let's see what the feedback is on it.
Leave it in.
Um,
The size goal. Okay.
yeah,
But again, we get it.
in this case, I'm okay with the shall. No problem that you gotta, yeah. The whole reason we put those in is we want 209 DR.
25, right?
Yeah,
No more aluminum buildings. Right?
right.
Right.
The electrical disturbances. I'm playing a little devil's advocate. How do you know it's affecting the animal? I mean, I just don't know.
Brings me back to Crested Hen when we were talking about music disturbing the bald eagle.
Well, that was the DEC.
This was in any electrical.
Yes, but
Yes.
the humans and.
Humans and animals. It used to say adversely
Organ
affecting the operation of any equipment other than the creator of such disturbance. So basically, any disturbance your electrical equipment caused can't disturb your neighbor's electrical equipment.
So it,
So
this
now they're
used to
adding
be much
humans in there.
more relevant. With some uses, I don't know that.
I don't mind the affecting humans, although I'm worried that you're gonna get a lot of people who talk about RF stuff because
Well,
I
how do we
agree,
define
I
it?
agree there's a certain percentage of people that can sense RF. Absolutely agree that, but if we're gonna start regulating for every human who may feel an RF disturbance from a project, we're never gonna have any.
Well, also just electrical disturbance adversely affecting humans.
Right.
That, I mean,
You can't prove it.
and also like, what does that mean? Like,
Yeah, I could see somebody standing here and saying, I've been adversely affected in the following ways.
Right.
Do this, and we're gonna say, well, you're not allowed that.
I think we take out the change, just leave it as it
Yeah.
was.
It's fine.
Surprisingly on the noise, and I will say this noise was taken straight out of the DEC noise standards, so they didn't make many changes. I don't mind the part that they made in 1. For some reason, we wrote out the word 5 and used the number 10 in the original. I don't know why, but so now it's both. I'm definitely okay with 1, the addition. Number 2, this is all talking about during
Sorry, can I
review.
go back to one? Why would we have a rate for 5 to 10? And I would say it didn't sound. I mean, so what if it's above 10?
Any sound of 5 to 10 decibels above. So if it's above 10, you have to attenuate it.
But if it's from 0 to 4.9, then you're okay.
Right.
But if you're between 5 and 10, you have to mitigate for so we have.
So isn't it just like above 5?
no,
Or
because at beyond,
Beyond 10, you're not
as
allowed to
the
do
first
it.
sentence says, proposed minimum shall not generate new sound levels.
So above 10 above DBA, 10 above ambient noise, you can't do it.
Okay. Yeah.
5 to 10,
Got it.
you can mitigate. But 5 to 10 is that gray area. And 5 to 10 decibels is a huge
It
difference.
is.
Um, 2 is fine, that's what we're doing. And then during the proposed hours of operation of the project, that is straight there because Arrowwood tried to sell that they did their testing while their neighbor was mowing hay, and there were all these things going on. And they
the
were trying to
ambient
say
noise
that that
level
was
was-
the ambient noise level. So the ambient noise level was way up there. It was like, yeah, but in the middle of a concert, your neighbor's probably not gonna be mowing his hay.
Yeah, at 9 o'clock at night on Saturday.
So,
Concerts, yeah.
so,
That one too.
K1, moving on here, is pretty specific, but Rob will have a comment. I'm sure somebody did a research. Was in the lighting business, and I'm not even sure what that standard is, but I'm sure it means something like that, so. We'll-
Madeline did that.
Yep.
And I think, is that image new or is that image?
The image was in there.
Okay.
The image was in there. That's a Tom Shepstone image. Yeah. I put it back in color. It was in black and white, and I had the original files, so many of these that were in black and white
Oh,
over
got it.
time.
Yeah.
I went and grabbed the color one and put the color one back in.
The lighting goes down.
Very
Pretty
clear.
self-explanatory. 4 10-foot candles is exactly what it should be. And the average foot candles, that's exactly what it should be. 7 is an attempt that we did it for the Dollar General. And they do it. And it turns off all the lights at night when they're done and go home. It was not put in the decision for the liquor store next door,
Oh, really?
and there's big white
Yeah.
internally lit sign stays on all night long, and every time I drive up that road,
It looks like there's an extra period in there Yeah, so- after mounted lighting.
Yeah. Yeah, there is. I'll fix that. L is fine, adding that in there.
Can you talk anything about these, the signs like they have at the first aid squad at the high school now?
Yep, in
Not-
signs,
Signs.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
signs coming up. So, with the changes we made, everybody feel?
On you.
Local, you. 2022, public hearing to be held October 27th. Immediately following local law T at the Carroll Lifton Community Center, 15 Tobacco Road, Ackworth, New York, requesting the town clerk select or circulate legal notice and authorize transmission to the county planning board and town planning board. for that.
I'll second.
Sure, you gotta change your order just so. Gotta retype the minutes.
There you go.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Signs.
I realize,
I'm a little eager.
I'm excited about signs.
there's actually, some-
Yeah, the charts.
well, the chart, nothing got, correct me if I'm wrong. I looked at the chart, I didn't see anything change.
No,
So what I did is I went back and grabbed the original chart
yeah,
because in the changing it to a Word document, it got massacred in formatting. And I,
Great blue. I thought this
that's Shepstone. That was the original.
was nice.
Yeah.
Who's on the website?
think. Okay, so working through signs, number 5, the addition makes perfect sense. Except it should be for comment to who? To be comment, because signs don't always go to the planning board. It should be,
To planning board or building department.
for comment, yeah.
Reviewed by the town office.
For comment to the planning board.
Oh.
How about for comment to the, no, not reviewing body,
Appropriate building,
because it could be planning board, it could be ZBA, it could be,
appropriate approval body, appropriate.
review for comment
And fine.
to the approving
Authorized approving authority.
authority. I, you know, say
Alliteration.
authorized, you can say approving.
Approving authority.
No.
It is alliteration. Absolutely.
Okay. I thought you were arguing about the word, you were just arguing about what was the location.
It is.
Both sides to count in the sign surface area, yes, we've been doing that, and I thought our code actually said it, and I guess it wasn't clarified anywhere, so now it says it. I'm not sure why they took out the time and temperature reading. Tom Shepstone was really adamant when we first reviewed it, having it in. I think it's not as popular anymore. Used to have banks and gas stations that had time and temperature readings. I don't know. I guess I don't care that bad. I'm just not taking it out. 10, we have to decide, it's an or, and they gave us 2 options. So shall be required to be turned off during non-business hours, or internally signed by a sign by the LED are prohibited except as allowed. So either they want us to say you got to turn them off at night, or they want us to say you can't do an internally lit sign. I think
Turn off and then-
turn off at night is more appropriate. You know, during the day they're not that obnoxious.
Yeah, and even in the winter time when it's dark at 5 o'clock,
Right.
you know, you can see the places open without even.
So Adam, there's your E. Digital sign shall, we originally were gonna write a digital sign section. And the 2 that are in our town, those, neither one should have ever happened without a permit, but they both did. The school, they say they're exempt, but school signs are actually not exempt.
Sorry, on 10,
Yes.
internally, what if instead of saying during non-business hours, we put like a curfew, like,
Well, so this goes back to the decision for Dollar General. The way I wrote it is they must be turned off, the parking and lights and sign lights must be turned off within 1 hour after
Okay.
closing to allow the employees time to get out and close up,
Okay.
get to their car.
so
I think the
business hours could
non-business,
include- okay.
because if they close at 7 PM and or if they close at 10 PM, curfew doesn't really work.
Right.
Because if they close at 7, I'd rather have to turn it off at 7.
Yeah.
Than wait till a curfew.
Yeah, but what I was thinking about was people getting there and, but anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I think during
If you think
non-business hours,
Business hours
uh,
includes like an hour buffer on
so
every.
non-business, maybe say during closed for business hours.
No, I think what you were saying sounds,
Yeah.
what I was thinking is I did, like, if it was on an hour before they open and an hour after,
Right,
that's fine.
yeah, but every business is different, but what I'm saying something separate, I'm not sure I like the word non-business hours.
Oh, gotcha, because of the extra hour.
Well, not even the extra hour, I just don't really like non-business, what does that really mean?
Yeah.
Right, that's what I guess that's why I was like, should we put like that?
I'd almost rather say during closed for business hours in all zoning districts. Non-operational hours, I don't.
Internally illuminated sign shall be required to be turned off. While,
When the property is vacant.
No, it's not
vacant is
vacant, it's
something
when it's
different.
closed. So Dollar General closes at 10 o'clock at night.
When not an
But
operator.
if it's closed to employees, you know. They're gonna be closed to the public, but still open.
Yeah,
When not in use.
they, you know, we can leave the non-business, I can't come up with a
Yeah,
better way to say
okay.
it. The way I specifically wrote the Dollar General was 1 hour before and 1 hour after.
Right.
So, but,
Correct.
I know.
okay, the chart is still exactly the same. What we do need to do though, is figure out where PL10 and A10 fit in this chart. We have to add those districts to this chart. So if you look at the uses, the R1 and the R2 is residential. Clearly, the PL10 and the A10 don't fit in a residential area because they're not a residential. We agree on that? I'm trying to just move it through. So the H and the R5, they got lumped together. They're two very different types of districts. But when we wrote them, at the end of the day, Tom was like, they're actually pretty similar in the types of signs you want. I think we could, or we could potentially say, you can't have any signs in the PL10, but I don't know if we want to do that. So this chart was, when we first met with Shepstone, he wrote this and he said, the one thing, we're not going to have any arguments, discussions. This is straight out of handbooks. This is the chart. And we've been following it ever since. But we have to insert these two new zoning districts. So since the AR3, AB3, DI, and NR are all in the last page, I think the A10 probably fits in there. Wouldn't you think? Try to avoid writing a whole other section.
Yes.
Because the A10 and the PL10 is areas that we don't want to encourage a lot of business and stuff. And that's why I don't know if it fits with the B.
Right.
But it also doesn't fit with the Hamlet.
Yeah.
We could move. I'm not sure why Hamlet got lumped in with the,
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. It's so weird. But this is, you're saying this is the original.
this was the original. The only thing I can think of is in Hamlet, you wanted smaller signs because of the smaller size, you know.
Yeah.
You didn't want a lot of signs in the Hamlet. And that's really what I think it's saying. I think we could join the PL10 and the A10 with the H and R5. In reading these, I don't see anything that's like really massive. And in none of them can you have a sign greater than 32 square feet. So. Freestanding on a wall you can. I think that's the best place to put it. And, with the H and R5. Anybody disagree strongly on that? We don't want to put it with the business. That's,
I think that's.
I mean, we could write our own section. That's. Okay. Local law. B.
Care of that?
So, scheduling for public hearing on October 27th. Immediately following local law U at the Harold Lipton Community Center, 15 Tobacco Road, Accord, New York, authorizing or requesting the town clerk circulate legal notice and authorizing transmission to the town and town planning board and also the county planning board. Have that motion.
I'll make that motion.
Second,
I'll second.
all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Last one. Well, I can already tell you, county's gonna come back hard because county is in a housing crisis. So taking multifamily out of AR3, they're gonna say, why are you taking it out? I understand it not being in R1. Oh, no, it is in R1. I understand it not being in R5, the bigger. I don't see a reason to not allow it in AR. Because we have an awful lot of AR3. The AB3 is only one side of 209. And most of that is all the front part, and the back part is protected. But AR3 is across the street. What? You agree? Can we
Not take it out.
not add it back in? I think it's, yeah. I don't think we should be taking it out. And then I think we should add it also in the density. So by adding it there, we want to add it back in B2 as well. We're not offering a bonus. We're only offering a bonus in the B, H, and R1.
Yeah.
But now, located in the R2 district shall not exceed 15 units. I don't understand why. You can meet setbacks, if you can, I just don't get it. You know, you still have to meet a whole bunch of standards in order to do it.
Yeah, it's not easy.
There's no, you know, I don't know, other than the fact that it's in the,
Do we not want any cap though?
I don't think we should have a cap.
Because the density.
The density is gonna be set by, density is gonna determine your cap of the size of your parcel. There's some big R2 parcels. If you can do it,
I actually think we looked and there's not that many
okay.
that would even.
Well, then it doesn't even matter
Doesn't
because
matter.
you can't do it, you can't do it. So putting it in there sends a bad signal. Personally. Okay. I just think the county's gonna look at this and go, you gotta encourage housing. Now, everything else is still the same, and I don't have any problem with that, if anybody else does. Moving to the 5, it says developments, 50 units or more instead of 25 instead of 50 shall provide a half-acre playground area. I'm okay with that change. We should probably define playground area though, what that really means. Does it have to be an actual playground, or can it just be an open
space.
sports area kind of thing? Passive recreation trails, that kind of thing. Well, this is saying less restricted to adult occupancy only, so it's strictly good for kids. Then the 3, the multifamily development of 25 or more shall be served by a minimum of 2 accesses. That one I think is good, changing it from 50 to 25. There's a prime example of a development that's happening in Kingston in a wetland area that only has 1 access. It's a senior housing, and it's a big cost of concern, emergency access. That one area gets closed.
Hello?
Unless it gets closed on.
I know it doesn't latch.
Yeah.
Is there a light? No.
Was one of the doors, did the foot thing just fall out and it's just closed on its own?
That back door, I know if you don't pull it, it doesn't latch.
It's Harold Lipton visiting us.
I did hear a sound, so I think maybe someone might have tried it.
And the rest of that code change, it's all pretty minimal.
Yeah.
Actually, since we took out the first page and put the AR3 in, the only changes are on page 3.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay, so,
W.
thank you. Local law W, public hearing to be held October 27th, immediately following local law V. And requesting town clerk to circulate legal notice and authorizing transmission to the Elk County Planning Board and enterprises.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay. You have to go into this really quick, and it should be quick executive session. So. I'll make the motion.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to enter into executive session at 9:39 PM for the purposes of discussion of matters leading to the appointment, employment, or promotion of a particular persons involving the justice court, and discussion of matters leading to the appointment, employment, or promotion of particular persons involving the highway department.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
All right.
Any reviews? We're out of it.